Thank you to everybody who is joining. Welcome to our second edition of Sidebar Sessions, where we'll be discussing the topic today, mothers and sons, loving and letting go. So, for those who just joined, we are giving some people a chance to get on, and then we'll get started expeditiously into our topic. We know there's a lot going on right now in the world, especially with our young men. And last time we had a sidebar session, someone specifically asked for us to deal with mothers and sons. So you asked and we answered, and here we are. So I'll just give it another few seconds and then we will introduce our illustrious panel for today and get started. Yep.
Wonderful.
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 Hi, Casper from across the hall. and Jessica.
Hi, Casper.
and Jessica Forrest Ellis, thank you for tuning in. I see you. I appreciate you joining.
Hi, Jessica.
What is this?
You gotta speak to the people.
You gotta
appreciate the people.
Gotta speak to the people.
I love the people.
I love the people too. Okay, so as we just announced, today's topic for our second sidebar session is mothers and sons loving and letting go. So I've always had this belief, at least for me as a girl, that a mother is a girl's first best friend and a father should be her first love. And I hypothesize that the same is true for a mother and her son, and that relationship is unique and creates also unique challenges in parenting and being mothered as well. So today I have brought on my mother, who is the co-host of Sidebar Sessions, and I also want to introduce to you a very, very special guest, my brother, Cameron McCarty, who is located in Raleigh, North Carolina. He is currently the technical manager and lead engineer for Cisco TV, and also is a media consultant with preachandplay.com. So wherever you are, give a warm welcome to Cameron and a brief hello to mom. So, without further ado, let's get into our topic. So, as I just mentioned, I imagine that mothering a son is a little bit different and has some slightly different challenges than mothering a daughter. So, I'll start with mom first. So you had me, and
Mm-hmm.
3.5 years later, you knew that you were having a little boy at some
Exactly.
point.
Exactly.
So, how would you say your perspective on parenting changed or had to adjust um based on having to mother a son?
Okay. Well, inherently, and I guess in his younger age, or most boys, I would say, are riskier. He took more risk than you did. And so, you end up being a little more protective, and because you know that they're gonna go out there and do a little crazy things that girls don't generally do. And so, as far as that's concerned, when he was younger, but of course, as he got older and became a teen, I had to, there's the reality of him being a Black young man in the world. And so that protective and that mothering and that hen kind of, came in. And also on the other side of that, raising him to be responsible. He had two jobs in high school, whereas you didn't work, not because you didn't want to, but this is Cameron, and he wants to be responsible. I'm checking on him. Okay, he's out and it's late and it's dark. Okay, where are you? Not that his dad wasn't doing those things too, but he's on my heart. Children are on your heart. And so that came into play. And then, of course, now as a young adult, he's not in the house, but he's still on my heart and still on my mind. And then the current climate that we're in, and I'm sure we're going to get to that, there's even more precautions that, I'm asking him about, and that I'm praying about, and that I'm thinking about. So, I think versus you, yeah, I brought you up to be a strong woman, but I wanted him to be a responsible man, but also, he has to be cautious and aware of who he is and in the world that we live in today. So, if I don't know if that kind of answered it, but those are the general ways that I had to raise him different or parent him different than I parented you.
So Cameron, did you get that sense?
I did. As you pointed out, I had multiple jobs in high school. And that wasn't something that was actually forced on me. It was, what I wanted to do. Fortunately enough for me, I grew up in a house where everyone worked, right? And that was just a part of our culture, I guess, and just how I was raised. Mm-hmm. So, it inherently, that responsibility and wanting that responsibility, I felt that, not as a pressure in any way, but just as I knew that's what it was, you know what I mean? And then, just having to be aware of different instances. One thing, in this particular conversation that, is on everyone's mind right now is the one of many, but the Ahmaud Arbery situation. Somebody jogging, right? And that for me hits home because one, I jog. Two, I'm a young Black male. And three, I've had a mistaken identity type situation. At one point when I was like 18 years old, cops thought I robbed a bank, right? Like multiple people, multiple cop cars, pull me over, pull me out of the car, guns to my head, scary situation, right? So just as we all know in this climate, as a young Black male, you just have to think about things differently, right? And I could feel that growing up, that I was parented a little differently because of that, which I'm thankful for because it makes me conscious of certain things. One would say paranoid, and that's a word that some people would use, but I say conscious. And that's because of, how I was raised, in that particular climate. And, we're from Mississippi. So, these are just real life
That's
things.
Right. That's right.
You can't get away from it.
Exactly.
So, I felt it. I did.
Absolutely. So you talked a little bit about how so much of that difference, it's a necessity. It's necessary for safety, And so Cameron, from your perspective, how do you think adulthood has kind of changed that? Or what do you take with you into your adulthood about that?
So what I take with me into my adulthood is, like I was saying before, it's the consciousness, right? Growing up, you feel that, you're being parented a little bit different. Honestly, when you're 12, 13 years old, you don't really understand it. You know, some people do, but, you know, by and large, you know, you don't really understand every single nuance and really what's being taught. You just know it, but you don't understand it. But as an adult, you start to really realize that things are real, and you have to move a different way. Like, I'm on my own. So I live in North Carolina, right? So, you know, I live 800 miles away from home or something like that. So I have to take those things that I was taught then and like apply them to my life on my own. It's those situations. It's those situations. If we're, you know, staying with the theme of being parented different, it's those responsibility things. Going back to having the 2 jobs, right? It's that, you know, I'm on my own, and how do I survive? One of the things that our parents, and mom especially, would say is, we didn't give you wings to fly around the nest. We gave you wings to fly away. And I took those principles, and one of them, you know, like I said, is just being responsible and owning whatever, you know, you have going on, and just being a man. And I've had to take that into numerous situations in life and adulthood, and how to just deal with difficult situations, deal with difficult people, you know, being without money for an extended period of time, and understanding how to survive. And it's those things that as a guy, I don't, and a lot of people, and I don't want to just say as a guy, but speaking from a guy's perspective, I don't like going to my parents a lot for a lot of things, just because of being independent, you know, and so I've had to use those skills that I was taught to be able to survive without, you know, constantly asking and you know, being at their doorstep.
So how did you balance, and this is for you, mom, develop um how did you develop a friendship with Cameron? Like, how did you balance the parenting part and the friendship?
Well, you know, my saying is, when you're growing up, you can be a parent and then you can be a friend later. So, you know, while he was at home and everything, you know, I parented, but I tried with both of you all to be open and communicate, you know, early on. I want to say something though, and I get to that. And he was talking about, you know, learning early, you know, how to survive and how to make it, and leaving home and being away 900 miles. That's the part of letting go for me. That was hard. Even though you had already, you know, both of you all went away to college and out of state, you're not as far, but he's the son and he's the youngest. And so that was a little difficult. It was more difficult than it was with you. Excuse me. And then being so far away and not, you know, believing that he could take care of himself. And I was pretty confident of that because of the things that he was able to do while he was home, and responsibilities he took on while he was at home. So, but the missing factor, just, you know, just the.
All right. We are back live. Are we back live yet? Okay. All right, we are back live with our sidebar session. For today's topic, we are talking about mothers and sons, loving and letting go. We have on our panel today, once again, my co-host, my mom, Cassandra McCarty, and we also have our special guest, Cameron McCarty of Cisco TV and Preach and Play, who is also my little brother. So we're talking about mothers and sons. And one thing we wanted to talk about, so you guys are fairly close. Cameron, I've heard you describe mom as the long arm of the law, and I tend to agree with you. But you all have also well, but is
I understand.
It's true. It's the long arm of the law.
Where's the lie?
Okay, all right, I'll take
So yeah,
it.
she's a firm disciplinarian, but you all have a friendship. So from your perspective, what do you think allowed that to develop?
Um, from my perspective, I would say time,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and age, getting older.
Yes.
Um, just I think kind of before a couple minutes before we were talking, and mom was explaining how when I was younger, she was a disciplinarian, more of a parent. Now that I'm an adult, um, in age, we have more, like you said, more of a friendship, and I think experience. So like the things that I go through now, I'm going through them as an adult. So she's not so, and I have to make my own decisions, right? I think as a child, some decisions are made for you, just by virtue of. But as an adult, like I have to live with my decisions. And thankfully enough, I have a parent and parents that respect that and understand that the decisions that I make I have to live with. So they're not telling me as much as helping me and guiding me. um and I think that helps our friendship.
Okay, mom, what do you think? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, um, okay, by nature, you, Shafron, are more how do you say that? Communicative than Cameron.
Yeah.
Um, and boy left home and didn't hardly call. You can't get him on the phone. You know how your dad will say, "Can't get you on the phone." Far and few between. Get a little text here and all of this kind of thing. But as he said, life has a way of doing things for you. And as he got older, and he started calling more, and we discussed, a wide range of things and things that are going on in his life. And so, relationships are built on time, and relationships are built on how much time you spend together, and the things that you talk about. And so the sheer fact that he calls more and we talk more, that has built our friendship. And like he said, I have to, still balance sometimes that, I'm the person that, likes to give advice. So I have to, sometimes like, okay, did he ask for this? Is he asking for advice? So I have to, hear my head and hear myself talk and be like, okay, he didn't ask for that. So let me just listen. But yeah, our friendship grew. And it grew just from the fact that we talk more, and we talk more about adult topics and things that are going on in his life. And now I kind of stay current, and I kind of know, what's going on, and I like that.
So it sounds like you are forging a balance as that dynamic is changing. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, that's I would say even from my perspective, that's pretty accurate. And just even what I need, as far as a son, I think that changes as you age. What a son needs at 12 years old from his mother is different than what a son needs when he's 25, and it's different than what a son will need at 50.
Exactly.
And so I think we're at that place now, where I'm almost 30 years old, so the things that I need from my mom are more conversational. And sometimes it is advice, it's advice on things. I've never been here before. I've never been in this situation. How do I navigate it? But then it's also just, I think kind of how you put it at the top of the show was, she's my first love. So just by that virtue, I want my mom to know, you know what I mean? Because I know that she's not going to lie to me, and she's not going to tell me that anything wrong. She's not going to give me anything bad. So that's a place of comfort. Even if it's not for advice, it's just a place of comfort, even at 30 years old.
I love that.
I
I
love
love.
that too.
That's a very
Yeah.
Look at here. Not too old. Never too old. Get the tapping. But go ahead, proceed.
So you just mentioned some very poignant things about your relationship and how you are kind of melding together. We talked about you being the long arm of the law mom, but do you feel like you did that to keep from coddling him, or like how did you avoid doing that as a lot of mothers do?
Yeah, that very much so, to keep from coddling him. Because by nature being a mom and a woman, you're gonna lean to that. And there were plenty of times where your dad said, "Don't cuddle that boy," you just let him go. You can't do that. And so, I realized that I couldn't, because I'm raising a man. And so I can't shield him from everything and everybody. And I had to let him go on his own. I had to let him bump his head, physically and metaphorically. And so yeah, you could have said
I will say one thing on that is like I was just saying, talking to my mom about everything. What I have come to notice and come to learn from my side of things is, yes, my mother will never tell me anything wrong, but my mother is extremely biased.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You got to clarify that, son.
No, in a good way. So I mean, you try to be
Okay.
fair and balanced.
Uh-huh.
You do, but I know that I am your son, so you kind of take my side. You lean, you steer
Okay.
to my side of any particular situation,
Okay.
and so I have to take it.
With a grain of salt.
Yeah, with a grain of salt. Like I try to be self-aware just as a person, and so when I go, I think I'm wrong in this situation. Like, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah. But you know what? That's good for you to tell me that, because I see the same thing in my mom, because I have three brothers. She does that with my brothers. And I'm like, they ain't always right. But that's good to know. Okay. I mean, but that's just a mom thing. I don't know. I didn't realize I was doing it. But okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Well, that's a good question. Like, Cameron, as far as the balance between coddling you and everything, like, do you think she got it right?
And it's me, of course. What do you think? What do you think? But no, seriously, I do. I think she got it right. From my perspective, and somebody else could say something different, outside looking in. But from my perspective about how I am, I have a pretty good balance of, like we were talking about, the responsibility part of it, but then also being able to talk to her, as a mom. So, I got the best of both worlds. Like I said, you're extremely biased, but also you're the strong hand of the long hand of the law. So it's, it plays on both sides of it. You know what I mean? And
balance.
It's balance. It's balance. It's balance. So I understand it on both sides of it. Like we were, me and Shafron always talk. If I do something wrong or I feel like, I'm not in the right about something, you're like the last person I can tell. It's like, because I never want to let my mom down. I never want to let my mom down. I can tell dad and, he'll say something, but, I never want to let mom down. So it's, it's just that balance of, love and respect, responsibility and discipline. It's a balance.
Well, let me ask this. We've mentioned my dad a couple times in this broadcast.
I'm surprised he hadn't popped up in the background.
Exactly.
So a lot of times the absence of a man has a huge impact on how like, especially like how a woman navigates the world. The presence of a man has an impact on how a woman navigates the world. How do you think, and hopefully you'll understand this question, Cameron, how do you think dad's presence in your life impacted your relationship with mom?
Wow, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
That wasn't what we went over in the prep meeting. um, uh, wow. Yeah. So I think it grew me closer. It grows me closer to mom. Just because I can see the way that he loves her, and it makes me want to love her. And just by virtue of their particular relationship, the way he kind of takes care of mom. Just the way our parents, a lot of people might not know, but my dad is like a workaholic kind of deal. Like he's always under a car, he's always working. And my mom is always in front of a computer, right? And for whatever reason, that's just that dynamic. And so watching how he took care of us made me want to kind of do the same. And so I'll tell anybody, I would die for my mom because that's how my dad is. My dad he would say that in a heartbeat. He would go to bat for us, all of us, in a heartbeat. And I kind of took that particular perspective into even you, Shafran, just the two, women in my life. Just that kind of protective, loving, main squeeze type deal. So I think it didn't force me in any way, but just that unconscious watching that kind of is one of the ways that I look at mom. Like, I don't have to protect my mom, but I have to protect my mom. You know what I mean? And it's that's just a part of, being a guy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say on the flip side of that, being a mom, and I think like you were talking about, Fran, the mom is the son's first love, and that mama's boy, it's kind of quote, but not bad. I never think a derogatory on that term. But I kind of look at him as Cameron as my future protector. Now I explain this. If for statistically wise, women outlive the men. And if something were to happen to your dad, even now, or he goes before me or something, I will inherently look to Cameron as my protector, as my not necessarily provider, but the one that will take care of me. And so you kind of you see, that's one reason you're raising them to be responsible, raising them to be on their own, raising them
it's a selfish thing,
just to take care of you.
It's a selfish thing.
It is. It's a lot of self-protection. It is.
I'm raising this boy up out of self-preservation.
Hey, in the Bible, that's what they did. But you start to, especially as they get older, and you begin to see them in a different light as an adult man. And then, of course, he will have his, one day, if God will, he will have his own household and all of that. Not saying that, but if your son loves you, you don't have to worry. And if you've raised him right and he loves you, it's just something about it.
So we talk a lot about, sons doing right by their moms, but it's equally important for moms to do right by their sons.
Yes, it works both ways. It works both ways. And if that has not, and all of this starts young, just no different than what we talked about, if that relationship has not been built and it's not in a good place, and mom has not done right by her son or the family, what have you, that expectation probably will not be there. And he may do the minimum, do what he knows to do, but there won't be that what is, you're doing things out of obligation and not because you love that person. And there's a difference, and you're gonna know it, and you're gonna feel it, and you're gonna see it. And so it works both ways. It works both ways.
So keep going with that. We talked about how you look at Cameron as your future protector. But I know for like a lot of my friends that were raised by single mothers or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the case may be, there's almost like a codependency where that young man becomes the protector,
Mm-hmm.
like way younger. What advice do you
Yeah,
have for that situation?
that's a good point. You don't want to, there's again my word balance. You don't want that young child or that young man to fill that role too soon, because then you are, first of all, taking away his childhood. Second of all, you're also taking him out of his place. He's not your husband, and it's not his job to um to be your everything and to take on that role and that responsibility. And I can see how that could happen. And so um oh, I'm losing my thought. I would lose my thought in a heartbeat, you are.
It's okay.
But anyway, my advice would be, raise them to be responsible. If you're a single mom, raise them to be responsible, have them do things and take care of things, but not out of obligation, and not where this is all that they do. Because they have lives and they have to leave them without you. And I think that sometimes will make either the young man or the man feel obligated to you, where he won't leave, because he's like, I can't leave mama because I've been taking her all this time. Or he begins to take that role on and own it. And then if and when you find someone, this new man can't even take the place.
Yeah.
Because there's already a man in the house. And so, you have to be careful about that, of striking that balance of not letting them take on roles too early, too much, too soon. And at the same time, you don't want them to be lazy and sorry. So, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not, a single mama, so I can't really speak, to that, that fully, but I've seen it in other friends that I have. And so I that's my advice.
Well, Cameron, from your perspective, I know you have a lot of friends in that particular situation. What have you observed?
So in that particular situation, I've seen it, both ways. I've seen where, a mother latches on way too much and the son doesn't grow up. She tries to shield him from life and everything. And he becomes like her boyfriend almost, not in a weird way, but just like filling that role. And in that, it's not that he's like the provider or anything. It's just that he doesn't get that sense of responsibility on his own. And he never really. You always hear about like the 32-year-old guy still sleeping on his mom's couch and she's still taking care of him. That kind of deal. Because of just not letting go, even early on. Just not letting go. And then like the whole protector thing. I had a couple friends growing up that they would get into physical altercations with their mom's boyfriends because it just was this power struggle, this constant power struggle. Because when said boyfriend wasn't there, they were probably taking on a role that they shouldn't be doing at that particular junction in their life. You know what I mean? And to be fair, even in this conversation, that's a hard balance to strike, honestly. Every situation is different.
Different.
And yeah, every situation is different, and some situations are just tougher than others by nature. And as a young man, say for instance, you're 16 years old. As a young man, if you're in a single house, I'm not speaking from experience, but just to be fair, you don't want to see your mom struggle for certain things. Even me, don't want to see my mom struggle. So as you begin to be more responsible, just by nature of growing up, you start to want to take on those roles. and want to provide for your family if there's no other man in the house. You just want to.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
And then it becomes a push and pull of, how much do I let him do that and help versus, how much do I say, no, you can't, you just need to go to school and go play football. Don't worry about the bills. It's just it's a real life thing. And it's a hard balance that I think, it's an important balance. But it's not always black and white.
Cut and dry. That's true. Yeah. That is very true.
It's not always black and white. So I don't want to say that, there's a right and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah. Honestly. Yeah.
But it's definitely a balance that you have to strike.
Yeah.
And be aware of. I think is a big point of, a big part of it.
I agree. You have to consciously work on it, but I totally agree with you. It's not easy, and by no means do I have it down, just consciously, just like you said, be aware, consciously work on it, and I think if you have that mindset, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the loving part. Let's talk a little bit about letting go. So Cameron moved however many hundreds of miles away. Physical distance, I know, plays a role in how your relationship is managed, but the emotional distance, I'll start with you, Mom. How did you loosen the rope or learn to?
Like you say, the sheer physical distance, it automatically gives you over 50% of no choice in letting go. And kind of like what you all said about, how we raised you all to have wings to fly. Mm-hmm. So I guess maybe we're a little bit, I'm not saying different, but we had already had that mindset that, we raised you to be able to go out on your own. And I would always say, I don't care if you go to Egypt, planes can go to Egypt, and so it wasn't as difficult for me in that sense to let go because he had, we had prepared him for that time. And but emotionally, I'll never forget when we dropped him off at NC State, and we had gotten everything and all the little junk he was gonna get. Didn't get half as much as you did, Shafron. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, he got him in the dorm and stuff like that. And so we standing outside of the dorm, we saying our goodbyes, and your dad hugs him and I hug him. And so we get in the car. And he was getting ready to go to the dining hall. So we're driving like parallel and he's on the sidewalk. And as and then he's walking, but now we've passed him, right? And I look back and it's like almost like he was in like the sun was over him or the horizon or something. But anyway, he just kind of started fading away. And I just boo-hooed. I was like, my baby. And then your daddy said, but that's what we raised him to do, to let him go. He gonna be.
I never heard this story.
No, I know it. And then he said, you gonna make me cry. And so, but yeah, so it was hard. It was hard because like I said, you're the boy, the son, but you're also the baby and you're almost 900 miles away. And so my access to you, I knew would be not as much as Shafron, even though Shafron wasn't that far away, but Miss Independent, I ain't see her either. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But, so it took a little time, but after a while, I was all right. I was fine. But it was different.
So true. You weren't ready. It made you ready.
There you go. True.
Yeah.
True.
Cam, what about you? How did you loosen the emotional rope?
Okay, so for me, it wasn't a loosen of the emotional rope. It was a cut. it was just a hard snip. I was done. No, but I think 18 years old, you're a young man, 18 years old, you just graduated high school, you go to college. I was ready. I thought
Yeah, he was ready.
okay.
You were ready. You were ready.
I was ready to go. And I was ready to see something different. And
Yeah.
so I didn't, and this is one of those personal things, that's just unique to me, I guess, or my personality, I should say, is I didn't get really, really homesick. I don't know if you remember my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't come home. I just came home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. That was it. And then after that, I started spending Thanksgiving, other places.
Right, exactly.
I didn't get homesick that much. It was more so that I wanted to see if I could do it on my own and see how much of, on my own I could be. So I wasn't, an emotional wreck, trying to, I want to see my mom. I want to see my mom. I wasn't. And I think so, Shafran and I, like our junior and senior years of high school, went on a lot of trips to visit colleges. And we went on a lot of trips, and it kind of got me used to, flying and being away for a couple of days. And then I went to Exeter, New Hampshire for like 6 weeks one summer, and I went just to different places, and I kind of figured out how to manage that emotional not being there. And so, like I said before, what I needed from my parents, it wasn't a physical like touch thing. It was just, I needed to know that they were there and alive, but other than that, I just wanted to figure it out. I just had that desire at that time. So it wasn't a hard thing to let go. It wasn't that hard. Okay. That sounds callous. That sounds cold.
But it's real though.
No, it's real.
It's real. So I want to get to some of our viewer comments and questions, but before then, I want to give a special shout out to today's sponsor, preachandplay.com, your premier resource for developing musicians, church media ministries, and ministers. Preachandplay.com is actually responsible for this beautiful broadcast that you see today. And Casper Corder, the founder and purveyor of Preach and Play, also my husband, is responsible for today's technical direction. So I'd like to give him a special shout out and a huge thanks for putting the technical part of this together. So if you have a broadcast that you're trying to pull together, do contact preachandplay.com for consulting. If you're a church musician and you're wanting to play any style of gospel music, Preach and Play is an absolute excellent resource. And if you're a minister looking to improve your ability to spread the gospel, as well as learn new techniques and tools or become ordained, Preach and Play is for you. So again, that is preachandplay.com. Okay, so let's see what our comments are. So Adrian Green says, oftentimes our young adult children make better decisions than we think. You were talking earlier, Cameron, about second guessing yourself, but I can vouch as another child of mom and dad that they cultivated our decision making and that self-awareness that you spoke of. They taught us to be responsible for ourselves and to think about what we do. So I can definitely agree, your young adult children sometimes make better decisions than you think because you taught them to. Goes back to that reaping and sowing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it goes to the points that we've been making about they gave us wings, in those little life lessons along the way. I think, watching us leave the nest, it's almost a testament, it's a testament to how they raised us, you know what I mean? To be able to do that. And no, I personally, I don't always make the best decisions, as in no one does in life. But, I'm confident, and I have always been confident, in my adulthood, that I was fortunate enough to have parents that guided me. As a kid, you don't really think about it like that. But I'll tell anybody this. I am one of the most blessed people in the world because I have a praying mother. My mother prays consistently and a lot. And that help, that helps, simply put, that's like one of those things that you can't quantify and you can't put into words, that I can call my mother at any time and I know that she will pray for me. And that's, like I said, you can't even put that in words.
Okay, so let's go to Danielle's question / comment. I try not to coddle, but my instinct to keep my son from potentially hurting because of the world that we live in. How do you find that balance, Mom? I think that one's for you.
Yeah, that's a really good one, because you try not to, for the sheer fact that he is a male child, but the world we live in, and the climate that we're in, especially for a black man, a black male, it's hard. It's hard. But you give them tools. That's one thing. To work with. If you don't have good tools, hey, that's some of the job. So you teach them, make them aware of that. I used to tell y'all that life is hard. You got to be real with your children. That these things are out here. Everybody is not nice. Everybody's not for your good. And then you also got to teach them. That was one thing I wrote down. I don't want to keep harping on being black, but I'm black and my son is black. You got to work harder, smarter, faster. You got to jump higher. So, excellence, just, I don't want to say push, but teach them to do everything well, or to the best of their ability. And that way, they have a head start, and they also have developed an attitude and a work ethic. And that's what I can say about Cameron. He's a hard worker. And I will always tell him hard work pays off. And it's doing that for him right now. And same way with you, Fran. But, so my advice would be, like I said, teach them, give them tools, make them aware of the things that are going on. Don't try to shield them from what's happening in the world. But at the same time, sort of like what the other lady said, trust that what you're teaching them is going to work. Is train up a child in the way he should go. When he grows old, he won't depart from it. Trust in your teaching, and depending on their age, you kind of give them a little responsibility according to the age that they're in, and see how they're doing there. Because the things that you do at home, if you give them that type of responsibility and at home, while they have some sort of nurturing, then you'll have that confidence when they leave. But if you don't ever do it while they're there, then all of a sudden they leave, and then they don't know how to navigate the world. So
that's good. One more comment, and this is kind of a sidebar, but I want you to talk about it while you're here, Cameron. That is good. You were blessed enough for you all to be able to travel, and that your mom did not have to struggle such as we single moms. Hats off to you all. So it is very true that Mom and me, Cameron, and our sister do have the benefit of my father being active and involved. I can speak to our situation. Our household was love rich and money poor.
This is
So,
So it wasn't money.
but mom did do a really good job, in particular dad too, but mom was really really proactive about trying to find us things to get into, to be exposed to.
Yeah.
Cameron, from your perspective as a young man, how did you navigate that during our yearing, not yearing, rearing?
how
And
did,
what impact do you think it had on you and how you're a parent?
how did I navigate what? How did I navigate what?
Um, the poverty aspect.
She
Um,
just says it, doesn't she?
okay, well, what about that? All right. No,
Lack of financial resources.
no, I think
Balanced.
I think and I'll be quick. I think from my perspective, that's one reason that I work so hard, to be very honest. That's a big reason why I worked so hard and why I wanted, to work in high school. That was my whole thought process, at 16 years. That's why I say it's a balance. My whole thought process at 16 years old was, if I get a job, then I can buy my own clothes. My parents don't have to buy it. And that, then you just kind of take that into adulthood and you just kind of run with it. But it taught me responsibility. It taught me a work ethic, and then it taught me how to survive. One of mom's saying is, what you got? You know what I mean? Like, it's just knowing how to make it, and how to, how to live. It's not and how to survive, and those are skills. We had to learn them that way, but those are skills that it doesn't matter how much money you have, you still need to know that. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like, look at the economy we're in right now. Like, it didn't matter how much money you had in January. You never know what you had today. So, like, those are just skills that I took from that situation. It wasn't all negative.
Thank you.
See, I'm the good one. But
Debatable.
it was one of those things that, growing up, it didn't feel great, but we always talk about it. As an adult, you look back on it and go, wow, that made me very, very strong. And that taught me a lot of lessons. And how I will raise my kids, my children, or my child. I actually, I'm a new father. Is, of course, I would never want my child to go through, poverty or anything. Everybody wants their child, to be better than them. However, I do feel that a strong work ethic, and I have a daughter, male or female or whatever, a strong work ethic is important for anyone. There's, it just, you'll never get rich not working, right? So, or just be able to sustain life, be a productive citizen in society, so, the whole spoiling aspect, I probably won't subscribe to that. Not because I'm trying to get my child back. Like, I wouldn't spoil, so I ain't gonna spoil you. That's a little bit of it. That's a little bit of it. But but no, just, the value of a dollar, and just how to survive and how to work. And because I won't always be able to give you money, you know what I mean? And you're gonna have to do it on your own. You gotta learn. And I don't think that's wrong, and I don't think that's specific to poverty and wealth. I think that's just a human thing, or an American capitalistic thing.
Well, shout out to my sister who is on tell baby EJET, Zion Quan, and baby Giovanna. If you old enough to hold a bottle, you can turn a screwdriver.
I say, if you're old enough to hold a bottle, you can hold a cup. You can get out there and get them nickels. You can get them nickels, man. I just she got to start keeping her, earning her weight around. It just
Earning her keep.
There's no such thing as a free
ride.
It's getting ridiculous.
So one thing I do want to touch on before we get into our anchor verse and begin to wrap things up. Not everybody has not every son has a mother. Some sons either don't have a mom by virtue of her being on the other side, or some sons don't have this kind of relationship by virtue of not really being mothered. um Mom, from your perspective, what advice or encouragement, what motherly gem can you offer somebody in that situation?
Hmm. First, I would encourage women, if you know men, young men that are without mothers or don't have that relationship, you know, be that mother figure, or give that encouraging word, or to that person, if you know them, really really know them. The encouragement to the young man. Hmm, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. That's a hard one.
And you can chew on that for a second.
Yeah, let me think about that.
And you guys
Because
in the
that's a boy.
comments, if you have advice related to this, or questions, please do chime in because we're watching them. But go ahead, Mom.
Yeah. No, I'm saying I'm still mulling on that one because I want, because there is a void. That's a void, and that would be no different than if it was a female, and So what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is coming from me.
Mhm.
I think those are unfortunate realities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when I say reality, that's a very real question that a lot of people are faced with. And there's honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer for that.
That's what I was
Because
saying.
you could say the answer, of course, we're going to say pray, right? That's
Right.
that's the number one. But in real terms, in tangible terms, you can tell a young man, go seek out a mother figure. But is that fair? Is that a fair, like, there's no, I don't think there's an easy answer to that one. I don't think there's a good answer. Like I said, it's an unfortunate reality that, hopefully in his life, there's a grandmother, an aunt, the mothers of the church, right?
Yeah.
That kind of situation, I would say if you're yearning for that, I wouldn't necessarily say go look for a mother figure, because that can end bad, looking for nub in all the wrong places.
Yes.
But
that's why I say about the same thing I was saying about if you know this, that's a touchy one. I retract.
But I would also say it's nothing wrong in surrounding and putting yourself in good places. So like a church, not necessarily looking and trying to pinpoint one particular female to be your mother, but going and surrounding yourself and getting in groups that have, a female presence that's positive, that you're not necessarily looking for one person to do anything, but it could help fill some of that void, just being around positive women in a certain way. But yeah, that's an unfortunate reality, and that's a tough one to answer, on any side of it, to be honest.
One reason I ask that is because as a woman, I have seen the holes left by mothers show up in my relationships with men. When you are someone's partner or spouse or whatever, you see their vulnerabilities. You see the places that they are unhealed. You see the way they love, the love language. They see what they're looking for in you.
And one thing that I would say, and I'm not promoting one person, but the general field, go get therapy. Go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
If you are a young man or a man who realizes there is a void, don't run from it, because that's a big one. It's a big part of your life. You can't run from that
Yeah.
And
I
you
would
will continue to do that, in other relationships.
Yeah, I was going to say some of the same thing. Of course, pray. And then if you realize that, like Cameron said, get therapy and ask God to heal you, because that's what's going to have to happen, because it is, like Cameron said, it is a reality. And, the void may never be completely filled, but you have to be healed and move on. And you can't let that affect other relationships. And that's a good point, Shafran. And so I think it would probably take a myriad of things, combination of prayer, therapy, and you choosing to move on, to let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yes, let it go.
Our preaching play sponsor actually chimed in on this one. Psalms 27:10. When my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's
So
perfect.
encouragement
Very much. Yep.
on that particular item. So speaking of verses, we have our anchor verse for the evening, Psalm 1, verses 8 and 9. So that's going to come up on your screen shortly. And I'll turn the floor to Cameron to kind of speak to that.
So let us read. Let us read.
Read.
So we're in Proverbs 1:8-9. It says, "Listen, my son, to your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head, and a chain to adorn your neck." Mm-hmm. We were talking about this one yesterday as we were kind of going over, what we were going to talk about, and we chose this one because it's very applicable to this particular conversation, and it's actually one that I kind of hold because as we've been talking over the whole broadcast, my parents' instructions are putting me through. They are getting me through, and I think we can go many different places, but I'm a firm believer that God talks through people, right? And I think that one of the first people He talks to you or can talk to you through is your parents. He gives them wisdom to then impart to you. And I'm fortunate enough that my parents gave me instruction. And even in this particular verse, specific to our dynamic, our parents are different. My mother's going to pray for you. She's going to tell you to go to church. My dad's going to tell you to suck it up and keep it moving. And so I internalize that, and I kind of have both sides of it. And it's like that instruction from my dad, especially growing up, sometimes he could be kind of hard on us for a reason. And then the teaching from my mom, it's almost in literal parallel to this verse, kind of how they parented us. And I kind of have both sides of that, going back to it. My dad's a pistol toter. My mom ain't never, shot a gun, So it's putting both of those together and being able to navigate this thing called life. And I wear it very close to my chest. When I see the garland around your neck, I look at that like being close to my heart. You know what I mean? And those teachings being very, very close to me and internalized, and something that once you learn it, it's like riding a bike. Once certain things are instilled in you at a young age, you don't necessarily forget it. Doesn't always mean you adhere it, but you don't forget it. One of the reasons people say, even if you're not a Christian, you should raise your kids up in the church, right? Why? Because it teaches them certain morals and standards and just how to be a good person. And I think that my parents did that for us, even though we are Christian, but just in the general sense of it, they did that for us, and it is something that I live by, and have to kind of lean on every day. Just the little things, the mom saying the do your best and let God do the rest. If you're gonna worry, don't pray. If you're gonna pray, don't worry. Like I live by those things. And without those, it'd be tough.
Go to school and be a good person.
Go to school and be a good person. I don't care if you take up basket weaving, just do what you love and do it well. It's how I live my life now.
But hey, train up a child in the way
they should go.
Yeah, and we were debating. So that should that be our anchor verse or should this one? And either one of them are applicable to this situation. But this Proverbs, 1:8-9 is almost a literal. It's hard to find that sometimes, but it's almost literal to our situation. And it's just the truth.
Okay. So final thoughts. Mom, what tips do you have for moms of sons and how to love them and let go?
Love them hard, love them strong, love them well, but love them enough to know that they need to grow up and be responsible men, and that one day they may have families that they have to take care of. So, be their parent first and you can be their friend later. So that's what I say.
Cameron, what advice do you have first for moms?
Advice from moms. I would echo what Mom just said. Love them hard, but let them go. Yeah, you gotta, to me, in my opinion, you gotta let a young man go. At a certain point, I'm not necessarily saying what that point is, but at a certain point, you have to let them go, because the tighter you hold on, the harder it's going to be for him to grow and become a man. It's either he's going to be lazy or just a bad man, and we all know what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
You have to let him go and experience things on his own. And the way that we're raised and the way that we kind of see it, at some point, like you said, Mom, he's going to have to lead his own house. He can't lead his own house if he can't lead his own life, because you won't let him go.
That's a good one.
So you have to let him get his own understanding and his own set of experiences and own set of wisdoms to be able to teach someone else.
And I said, when you just said that, I'm not gonna make it long. Moms, teach them well. Whether you're single or you're married or whatever, teach them well, because that's what the scripture just said. He remembers your teaching, and if you teach them well, you'll have the confidence to let them go. So,
Cameron, one more question then for you. What advice do you have for your contemporaries?
I'd say, love your mother, of course. Love your mother, respect your mother, all of that good stuff. But then also, how do I want to put it? And this is kind of going into the relationship side of things. No one's going to be your mother. Yeah, that's just a fact. No one's going to be your mother. So don't look for your mother. I understand naturally you're going to, that's just how life is. You
look for some qualities.
For qualities, whatever the case may be. But your girlfriend, your wife, whoever, is not your mother. And there's a lot of things that my mother or their mothers do for them or did for them just because they're their mother. But that doesn't mean that gives you a pass to not learn those things on your own. Or, you know know how to wash your own clothes. I'm being very literal in that sense.
That's good.
Just in general, So, yeah. In your relationships, they're not, that your significant other is not your mother. And you have to let that part go.
Ooh.
You have to let that go. Your mother is always going to be your mother, and that relationship will morph, but you have to let that I want somebody to be my mother thing go.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome.
Ain't nobody trying to date that.
Ain't nobody trying to date that. I ain't dating your mama.
Stormy or Marty. Go ahead.
I wanted to go back.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the question you asked me before, and I'll be real quick.
Go for it.
The question about the advice I give to mothers, I just want to quickly say, teach them well and let them lead the way.
All beauty they possess inside. Because the greatest love of all.
That's all. I had to.
You had to do that one. Oh, goodness, Rich.
Oh, man. So this has been a fantastic, fantastic session. I hope that you all have enjoyed it. Y'all have been an awesome audience commenting and asking questions. I've enjoyed it. I know our panelists have too, if I may speak for you all. I really appreciate my brother coming on tonight from Raleigh.
Thank you.
And again, thanking Play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about what we're doing here. Our next scheduled session for Sidebar Sessions will be 2 weeks from today.
May 28th.
Thursday, May 28th. So we're looking forward to sharing another presentation with you. The topic is TBD, but we'll let you know in advance. But please share. Continue to ask your questions. If at any point in between broadcasts you have a topic you want to see, do let us know. If you have questions you want us to answer, let us know that too, and give us feedback about how you enjoyed the broadcast and things that you would like to see in the future. So, if there are no additional comments from my guests, I thank you all for tuning in, and this has been Sidebar Sessions. Good night, everyone.